How did he manage to ingratiate himself with all these individuals? Where did the money come from? This guy's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, Sean.
Yeah.
How is it that we are sitting here now after he, I don't know what you're gonna say, he committed suicide in the prison where no one had ever been able to commit suicide before, after Ghislaine Maxwell has also gone off to prison, and we've learned nothing from her trial, Sean. Nothing.
The Epstein stuff that just dropped.
Sure.
Director of CIA going to his townhome to have meetings. What would they be meeting about?
The Epstein story across the board is one where the conspiracy theorists, so to speak, keep on looking like the ones that see what's really going on, meaning that it just gets, you have to believe more and more coincidences. You have to believe more and more of the official line, even though that doesn't really seem credible. My biggest question, so the answer about the CIA guy is, yeah, so many, I mean, Bill Clinton, and he wasn't CIA director. I think he was a deputy assistant secretary at state or something at the time, but now is the CIA director, which is why it's getting so much attention. How did this guy, I can't even keep a list in my head of all of the private movie screenings with Woody Allen, had just had interactions with all these people as a matter of public record. We know this. How did he manage to ingratiate himself with all these individuals? And how is it that nobody stopped to think? We don't know. First of all, some of them were hanging out with him after he was already a sex criminal.
Yeah.
And that's by the way, you have to remember, these are people for whom protecting their reputations generally is one of their most important considerations, right? You're a politician, you're a public figure, you're gonna hang out with a known sexual predator? You're gonna have no interest in you're just going to hang out with some guy who's in some $80 million mansion in Manhattan and owns a private island off the U.S. Virgin Islands and owns a mansion in Palm Beach. You're gonna hang out with him, why? What is he going to do for you? How did he get them? I mean, Bill Gates spent a lot of time with him. And you look at the figures, if you believe that there was like an Illuminati, that there was a globalist elite that has similar aims and a similar view of humanity and is looking for total control, those people, a lot of them, were in the Epstein orbit. I've never heard a good explanation for how that all came together. And there are some questions that I have about the Epstein thing that I'll put out there that I think are so, and I've heard from, again, these are people without attribution. I've heard people who have made very specific allegations, and these are very connected, very powerful people, like names that every single person watching this or listening to this would know, have made very specific allegations about Epstein, but they lack the proof. And they're not going to put themselves in a position, not about Epstein, but about the other.
Mm-hmm. The people involved.
So how is it that we all understand that Epstein's operating we still don't know where his money really came from. They say it was consulting or something, but that's not credible, right? We know that he was effectively given a house, I think, by the founder of I can't remember the guy's name, but by a billionaire. But we still don't know where the money came from, which is not that hard. You know what I mean? Forensic accounting. FBI is great at that. Where did the money come from? This guy's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, Sean.
Yeah.
You know what the first thing when this came out? People said, oh, he was a stock market trader. I know hedge fund guys. I said, anyone ever heard of this guy? No. You're not making $600 million, $800 million on Wall Street. No one's ever heard of you before. This is crazy, right? Didn't make his money that way. So they don't really know where his money came from, which is a huge red flag in and of itself. And then there's the well, what was he doing? He's running, we believe, right, a surveillance and blackmail operation, which likely involved, as from everything we can see, putting very powerful, very wealthy men in situations where they were engaged in sexual activity with underage girls, right? That, I believe, am I on point with this so far? Like,
Yeah,
is that right? Yeah. That is what the general belief is about what he was doing. How is it that we are sitting here now after I don't know what you're going to say, he committed suicide in the prison where no one had ever been able to commit suicide before, after Ghislaine Maxwell has also gone off to prison, and we learned nothing from her trial, Sean. Nothing. She's just going away for 20 years. Just, we're not hearing a word about it. Oh, okay. Not a single person that I can think of, have we been told, is the actual target of this blackmail, with the exception of that British royal guy and, whatever, Prince Andrew, right? And even it seems that was Epstein, targeting him specifically, and how did that all work out? Point being, how do you have a massive at least multi-year, maybe multi-decade blackmail operation with no targets? No one ever has this answer for me. How do you have a blackmail operation where nobody was being blackmailed? One where you made hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think the answer is, there are people who have been able to adjust the system to their liking in a way that certain facts have not come to light. I'll give you a couple of other things, other thoughts on this. Because also, it's difficult because I think there probably are people who did lunch with Epstein and they didn't know, right? I think that's a thing. I think that's pretty clear at this point. But I also think there are people who did know.
Well, I mean, you have all these billionaires that are going to take away the island. You have all these billionaires going to New York, staying in his townhome with them. When I travel somewhere, I don't stay at their house, especially if it's for business. I get a nice hotel, and I'm not a billionaire. I don't know any billionaires that stay at. Do you?
No, he clearly had an MO here where he wanted people to be. He wanted to sort of bring them into the web, and it is surprising that you would. I shouldn't say surprising. There are people whom I think the public would be surprised or have been surprised to find out weren't more on guard about the whole thing or weren't more aware. And when you start to think that through, you go, well, is it that they didn't know or is it that they just pretended not to know? And that's where things start to get dialed in a little bit more. But I will tell you a couple of data points that also go in so I think we can all agree, we don't really know where his money came from, and it's massive wealth, hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay. That's very strange. We should know where all this money came and went. It's all being done electronically. It should all be trackable. Oh, Swiss banking, there's no such thing as Swiss banking secrecy anymore. Give me a break. There'd be ways to figure this out. Someone doesn't want to know. Beyond that, where's the blacklist, the target list, the black book, whatever? Where is the target set that he was blackmailing? If we all think he was blackmailing, who is there? We haven't been told that. Then, if you go back to the earliest phase of the Epstein saga, he was given a plea deal that was so... I remember I asked my friend Andy McCarthy, who was a Southern District of New York prosecutor. You probably see him on Fox. Great guy, brilliant dude. I asked him about this specifically, this notion. And so he confirmed it for me. They gave Epstein a plea deal that excused his underage sex trafficking beyond a 6-month, basically home confinement. It was a joke. It was no sentence at all. And this was federal. But they also gave him that the plea deal covered him and unnamed possible co-conspirators. I asked Andy, I said, Andy, you were the Southern District of New York for 23 years. Have you ever even heard of that before? A plea deal that gives immunity beyond the individual to unnamed individuals? He says, no, he told me, he says, that's not a thing. So you got a guy